But like it's been it's been like this amazing vehicle for like God to impart identity to me of like who I am, because I had so much self-doubt, so much anxiety, so much like I literally will not amount to anything. I'm going to be a youth minister making 42,000. There's nothing wrong with being a youth minister, but like it wasn't that it was because I didn't think I could do anything else.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Catholic Founders Podcast. Each week we are exploring what it means and what it looks like practically to integrate our Catholic faith into the businesses we run. Before we get into today's episode, I'd like to ask in favor. As we try to grow this channel, I want to hear from you. What topics do you want to hear about? What style of podcasts would you like to see? If you're enjoying it as it is, please do me a huge favor and drop us a review on Apple or Spotify with a little note for us. Okay, today we are speaking with Colin Stroud. I discovered Colin on LinkedIn around January of 2024 when he was posting about getting the most out of your credit card points to maximize your travel for less. And I've actually done a consultation with him, I think back in the spring of last year. And over this past year, I've been able to see him go from under, let's say, about 3,000 LinkedIn followers to now over 15,000 followers. And I admire Colin a lot because he's a young Catholic, ambitious man like me. He's already married, he has 2 kids, and he's very open with us about his journey. So there are 2 big things that I wanted to cover in this discussion with Colin, which we thankfully were able to get into. First of all, I wanted to get the perspective of somebody who just started a relatively niche business about a year ago into seeing strong growth right now. This way, those of you who are kind of on the fence about entrepreneurship can get a taste of what it could look like to be in his shoes, to look back after a couple of years of effort, the way he's seeing growth right now. Secondly, I really wanted to understand what it's like with him and his wife, because Colin's wife actually also runs her own business. So I wanted to understand, like, what is that dynamic like? How do they manage with 2 kids and both of them running businesses? And let me tell you something, it did not disappoint. This conversation was really great for me, at least, and I'm pretty sure it will be great for you. So let me know what you think. I was really surprised at just how amazing this conversation was. I'm very excited to be able to share this with you. So without any further delay, enjoy. All right, man. Welcome to the show. How you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you. I think I'll just give like a really bit of a quick backstory from my side. I believe
Sure.
I found you on LinkedIn roughly 1 year ago. We're recording this at the end of February 2025. I think it was about a year ago that I found your content, maybe slightly more than that. And you had just started to like really grow, and you were going through this whole journey of being laid off and starting a new job. We'll get into some of that. But being able to watch you over this past year to just grow, and your business is popping off and you're doing really well, and you're really creative about how you do it. So I'm very excited to have you on. I think right before you hit this probably even bigger inflection point, which I foresee coming in the near future. So let's, I guess, give a little bit of an intro to yourself today for people who do not know who Colin Stroud is.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. It's been crazy. Like the last year has been wild, so excited to share more about that. Yeah, I'm Colin. I live in Indiana. Married. I have 2 kids. My parents converted to Catholicism when I was like 7, so I've been Catholic most of my life. Went to Ave Maria University, and yeah, just enjoying kind of family life, figuring out how to have 2 kids at the same time. Like that's just we have a 9-week-old right now, so still adjusting. And yeah, I've recently gone full time into my business. What I do is help people understand like the wild west of credit card points and miles. And so we'll share more about how all that works and what I do specifically. But yeah, that's what I just quit my job, went full time into it at the end of October 2024. It's now February 2025, and it's just been awesome and fun to build this. And I really can't believe how well it's all going still.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. I think for a lot of outsiders, they may not think, oh man, you can build a business like being an advisor about credit card points. Like I know a lot of people in my circles, like with Praxis and this thing, had talked about some of this stuff, but I was always like how could it be that big of a deal? But then you see there's huge businesses like NerdWallet out there who are just like doing this stuff. So
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. We're gonna get into it. So let's talk about how did you get here? Like, I guess what was your upbringing? What was your motivation kind of growing up? Like who were you at an early age?
Yeah, I was super shy kid early on, and then I kind of got and I was homeschooled, and then I've kind of weaseled my way out of homeschool, even though my parents wanted to keep me homeschooled, but I kind of fought them very hard and got to school, and I kind of broke out of my shell there and got really social. And yeah, I mean, I just was, loved being around people, loved building stuff. Like the kind of high school kid I was, like there's a YouTube channel, Yes Theory. I don't know what they're doing now, but they were super popular and they just do crazy stuff. So like one of the things my brother and I did was like we decided to host a dinner party like the day of. So that morning we decided we're going to do this. And we called every single person at school we could think of. We ended up hosting a sit-down dinner for like 70 people. Like we brought them out. It was the best. We went to Walmart and got all this chicken and had my little brother grill and all this stuff. But yeah, we just like love doing stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life in terms of business, career, and stuff. Literally through my first year out of college working. Like literally, if you asked me at any point, I would say I have no idea, which much to the frustration maybe of my parents or other mentors. My dad's a successful business owner. He's a Catholic pro-life OBGYN and has built his own practice. He's a NAPRO doctor. He's like does fertility stuff. Really amazing practice there. And so it was like, I watched him be very successful and build something, and I was like, I don't know if I can, do something like that. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of who I was. And I went to Ave Maria University, met my wife there. We got married before my senior year because she was older than me. So that was a little alternative, but it actually worked out great. And then we got pregnant within like 3 weeks of our wedding. So that like all happened very fast. We got the pregnancy before we even saw the wedding pictures. So it was fast. And then, yeah, it just kind of life's been a roller coaster since then.
Do you feel that the I guess the seed or the kernel of entrepreneurship came from watching your dad build a business?
Yeah, I think so. Like I think I saw the fire in him. He actually bounced. So when I was born through age 7, he was an entrepreneur, had his own practice. Then he actually decided he didn't want that. He left and he went to like corporate America in healthcare administration. I was like between 7 and maybe 13 or 14 for me. And then he decided to go back to private practice. So is when I was about 14, I saw him go back and like the fire there. And then my mom's actually a nurse midwife, so they work together. And so they kind of built this business from the ground up together, from like having like no patients and no building or money or anything to like now they've employed like they have like 4 doctors and 5 nurse midwives, and they're building this thriving practice. So it's just cool to watch them. And I think I was like, yeah, I saw that ownership that they had, and I was like, that's pretty awesome. And I just like couldn't, yeah. And then as I was thinking about jobs, I was like, no job just sounds fun, like at all. Like I love just doing stuff on my own, like that dinner I talked about, or some other entrepreneurial things. Like that was the only thing that got me excited. So yeah, I think there was a seed there, though I probably wouldn't have said that maybe in high school. That it was like, it's coming from my dad. But I think there's that genetic thing of like, he's always been someone that was not really willing to work for someone else and didn't do well in those environments. And so I think I've inherited that to some extent, for better or for worse.
Do you think that there was any particular, I mean, you said you didn't really know what you wanted to do with your life, but you didn't have, kind of a career path you were trying to chart out, but did you have, can you put your finger on what the underlying motivation was? Or did the entrepreneurship stuff really just kick in after you were, married and expecting your first child?
I mean, no, honestly, man, I think this is, I just really struggle with that question. Like I could come up with almost nothing. And there wasn't even like a general, I want to build a company. Like I was not something I said in college. It was just like, I think it was like just seeking purpose. Like I want work that gives me purpose. But I think the secret, though, not secret, is like, I actually just didn't want to work. Like I couldn't understand why anyone would work. So, I was just like, well, how do I just make money but not have to work very hard? Like I think it sounds lazy, especially to like our boomer parents or something. But I think it's funny now because now I'm like working a lot and it doesn't feel like work at all. And I'm like, okay, I was never afraid of work. I just couldn't comprehend working for something that just didn't matter. And I had some work. Had some jobs that, like, I would say, no offense, didn't really matter. Like it's kind of boring corporate stuff. And I just was like, I would wait at 4:59 to turn off the computer. And then I would hear about people like working late. I'm like, why would anyone work late? That's crazy, you know? And so, yeah, I mean, I just didn't know. And maybe, you know, I just had a little bit of small, you know, narrow vision, but, yeah, I'm glad that
What would you
I'm not
do?
there anymore.
What would you do after though? Like after you kind of logged off, like what was the thing that you found like that lit you up? And then what I'm trying to understand really is like where did it eventually click that you were going to just like start pursuing your own endeavors, and you got to the point where now you work a lot and you enjoy it?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I've always had like a ton of energy for projects or things. So whether that was like, you know, we'd get silly video assignments in high school. You know, you'd like make, you know, a video about how to graph the y, or what is it? Find the slope in the y-intercept, or I can't even remember now. And
Doesn't
I
really
would like
matter, does it?
go all out on those videos, and I would spend like 10x the time anyone else would. And
Mm.
like I loved fun projects like that. And then when I got to like that more serious career phase, I think I had a really healthy outlet. So about my junior year of college, I decided, okay, I am so frustrated with this whole, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to major in. I don't care about school. I don't know what job to get. I don't know how to get a job. That I just decided I'm going to pour every bit of energy I have into long distance triathlon. And I'm going to hope that by doing that, pursuing a very tough physical goal, something's going to happen. And so, yeah, so for my junior year of college through through the full first year after graduating, I got obsessed with a long distance triathlon, and I did multiple shorter ones, and I ended up building up to doing a full Ironman triathlon, which is long. It's a 140-mile bike, and it's a marathon run, and it's a 2.4-mile swim. So like all of my energy and focus was like triathlon podcast, nutrition podcast, training, you know, 15 plus hours a week. So like before and after work, that's all I cared about.
Hmm.
And then my like family, marriage too, kind of beginning that. But like the obsessive energy that I do have, I think, all went into triathlon. And I think it gave me a good mental basis to like become an entrepreneur, which I'm much less fit now than I was then. But I'm also like,
Are
I
we
make
all?
money now and I didn't then. So that's also, so it's like, it's a trade-off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I do find this is a pretty common theme with people who end up like kind of falling into entrepreneurship, if you will, is that they have some sort of obsessive gene in them, right? Like they decide they don't know exactly what, but they decide to get really focused on something, and that's a really
Yeah.
good trait to have. I sometimes wish I had it a little bit different. My obsessiveness is in small bursts with my ADHD taking me off the
Okay.
place, but I appreciate that. So, you know, we maybe already talked about this a little bit, but what was your, I guess, view of success in life when you were young, before you really started this journey?
Yeah, I think, you know, I think I saw my dad as really successful. We knew a lot of really successful people, you know, kind of in his network. But yeah, I think when I came into my faith in eighth grade, like I don't know exactly what happened. It just like, I didn't care about my faith. It was not of interest to me. And like a very slow kind of process of entering Catholic school and like starting to read good stuff. I had like kind of an intellectual conversion, as much as a 14-year-old can have an intellectual conversion, and then kind of more one just in my heart through different retreats and things I went to. And and so like I had this weird kind of, and maybe we'll talk about this more, like Catholic guilt. I don't know what you want to call it. I basically thought that like the only path of holiness, like I wanted to be holy, right? I care about my faith. It's new, it's exciting. The only path to like live out my faith in my adult life would be in some sort of church sponsored ministry. And so like I remember telling my brother, who was like Mr. Finance Bro, wanted to go work on Wall Street. He was 2 years older than me. I was probably 16, he was probably 18, and he's like, you know, all about finance. Like he's trading stocks. He's like looking at all these finance business schools. And I was like, yeah, I'll probably never make more than $45,000 in my whole life. I don't know where I came up with that number. And that's what I heard some youth minister made or something. And he was like making fun of me and saying how dumb that was and all this stuff. But like that was my mindset, was like in high school, like college stuff, I was thinking, well, the only way to kind of live out my Catholic faith in the real world is to do ministry. Or there's like maybe a few exceptions. Like I thought my dad was an exception where he was doing this really cool thing. It was very Catholic, like pro-life practice. It doesn't prescribe contraception, all this stuff, you know, helps with fertility. But he also happens to make decent money because he's a physician. I was like, well, my dad's kind of an asterisk. He's an exception. I couldn't do that, and I don't want to go to 12 years of school to be like him. That sounds awful. And so, yeah, I think that was like my vision of success, like that it really wasn't possible, and or it wasn't in line with being a like real, like devoted Catholic. And now I just like laugh about that because I so disagree with that, and I hate that that's even a mindset of anyone in the church. We could talk more about that, but yeah, that was my vision of what my life was going to look like, I think. And it's funny because I think my wife had a very similar one. She always jokes that like she thought she was destined to marry a youth minister, but she didn't want to marry one. She's like, but I'm just going to. Her in college or high school, she like thought there was a zero chance she would marry someone that wasn't a youth minister. And I was like, it's just funny how we both had that mindset for whatever reason. So yeah, that's that.
Maybe that's what ended up bringing you guys together, but obviously on a different track now. But this is a very interesting point because my kind of upbringing and story or thought about success was in some ways kind of related to yours. And I just think it's very interesting. There's not a lot of guidance for young people on how to conceptualize success in the world because we're taught, to pursue eternity, obviously. Like that's pretty clear, but it's sometimes like, well, how do you tangibly translate that into our choices for our careers? And I just think it's a shame. I really hope that over time this becomes more of a common practice to help young people to conceptualize what success while still being a good Catholic can look like, right? So maybe a topic for another day, but I really appreciate you sharing that. Let's talk a little bit then about your very first entrepreneurial endeavor. So what was the first thing you ever did to actually make a buck?
Yeah, the first thing, there's a couple things. So yeah, I became a soccer referee, which is fun. Like made some bucks doing that. I think I don't know, maybe 16 is like that time when all your friends start kind of getting jobs. And I remember like my one friend would leave high school at 3, and he would go like work at Pizza Hut or something like that. And I think he made whatever it was, $7.50 an hour, $8.25 an hour. And I remember thinking, and probably maybe this is like the privileged side of me or whatever, I was like, that is the dumbest thing in the world. Like you spend an hour and make $8. Like I couldn't fathom that. Like I thought it was the craziest thing. And I remember saying to myself, like I'm just never going to do that. And there was a privileged side of like, my parents did not force me to get a job in high school. And it was already known that my college would be mostly paid for by them or help. So like I'll acknowledge that for any of like the people who kind of like built themselves. But like my parents have done so much for me. Anyway, but that being said, like I was like, I want to make money. I don't have to make money to like go to college, but I'm gonna figure out something. So so I did like the reffing thing, and then too like late high school, early college too. I started. I was just like so bored with these dumb jobs, I was seeing people get. I was like, I don't want to do that. And I don't. So I just started like detailing cars, which detailing is a strong word because that is a true art, I believe. And what I was doing was cleaning cars, but I was calling it detailing. Looking back, I'm like, that wasn't a detail. That was a clean. But people like their cars clean. And so I was just reaching out to, I would reach out to friends, family, text people, try and get some referrals. And I started doing that a lot, and that was kind of my thing. And then like my real first entrepreneurial thing, I'll say that I became the highest paid student employee in the entire school of Ave Maria. So I was there. I really wanted to make more money now. I had some kind of odd jobs, but I had started this, like I was doing it back home in Indiana. I was doing this car cleaning. Okay. So I had testimonials and I had like a bunch of pictures, results. And so I remember, so I had this idea. I was like the university, I found out that the university has this whole fleet of vans and buses that they were taking to a place like 30 minutes away to get cleaned like every other week or something. And I was like, that's crazy. They're probably spending so much money. So I cold emailed the director of student life and was like, listen, I don't know what you're paying. I know because I heard from someone like you guys are taking your vans down the road over here. I would love to be like the sole provider of van cleaning for the university. Like I'll just do it right on campus. I have my own vacuum, my own stuff. Like I'll just do it. and let's work out a rate. And so I wish I was trying to remember the rate because I remember thinking it was unbelievably good, but it wasn't that good. I think it was maybe $50 a van, which, that's pretty solid. Maybe it was $40 or $50, but like, so I was basically making $50 an hour, which the next highest paid student was probably, in the president's office making $11 an hour. And so like and they had to create a special pay code in their software to figure out how to pay me. We had to have a whole meeting with HR to like figure out how to pay me this much money. And again, I'm not making hundreds of thousands of dollars, like just $50 an hour. But it was so cool. So for the last 2 years at college, I had this contract with the university that I was the sole provider of the van cleaning. And I kind of got known for this because I would do it out in front of everyone. Like everyone could see me. They were walking past because it was in a public area. And I don't know how many people knew how much I made. But yeah, like that was so kind of addicting of like, oh my gosh, I found a way to make my time to do more with my hour than like any other student here, at least working for the university. And I think that was like such a seed of one, I'm actually I think I'm good at this, and this is possible. Like I refused to settle for that $8.25 an hour job, sitting at a desk checking people into the library or something. I was like, there's something better. And it was hard work. I was sweating, and I would find bugs and spiders and nasty stuff the football team would leave in the van. And like there were some disgusting dead frogs and all like, but I was like, but I'm making money. So yeah, that was my first thing I did.
That's awesome. That's a really good story, man. And I'm assuming you also saved them quite a lot of money from the other provider. I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, and that was the other pick. It's like, yeah, saved them a lot of money, and so they were thrilled with me the whole time. I didn't have any problems, and I ended up passing the business off to a friend who was younger, and he was happy. And
yeah, of course,
someone's doing it now. I don't know who's doing it now. Someone probably, hopefully, someone.
Whoever it is, please reach out and tell us.
Yeah,
did inflation cause any changes?
Yeah.
But anyways, I just want to point out this is really really valuable kind of insight for people. Is that if you're interested in becoming an entrepreneur, or you're interested in freeing yourself from corporate America. This is the basic principle. How can you make your time more valuable than just trading, whatever somebody decides to pay you? Like, find a way to create more value per hour at the bare minimum. That's the beginning. So it's a really good story there. Now let's talk about the story of starting your business. So
yeah,
when you started the Travel Points kind of thing, first of all, how did you get into it in the first place? How did you become knowledgeable? Because you clearly know quite a lot about it. How did that start go? Just walk us through that story.
Yeah, so the story, I think it kind of started when, my wife and I were married. We had moved back from Florida to Indiana. We had what had been probably a 3-4 month old. And I think we decided, like, we hadn't been on a vacation since we've been married. We've been married a year and a half. And I was like, I would love to go on a vacation. Like, I've always been, some background, I've been obsessed with travel probably since I was 14. Like, I would spend hours looking at flights, mostly to places I'd never go. But I did find some like awesome flight deals, and I've been to Europe multiple times. Like, before marriage, like, I'd been to California and Haiti and, Italy 3 times, and Poland and Spain and, Uganda and Dubai. And I like found my way to like a lot of places, and, like, relatively speaking, for a kid who was just kind of like figuring out how to hack his way into those. I never even heard of credit card points. But anyway, I decided, okay, let's do a vacation. Like, this is like what people do. Like, I have a steady corporate job. I've got this house, got a kid, got a wife. And I was like, we should go somewhere. And I'd love to go to Florida. And so anyway, I started looking, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, we can't afford any of this, because I wasn't making much money at the time. My wife had just quit her job to stay home, because that was a huge priority for us, to stay home with our baby. So I was like scouring Airbnb and hotel, all this stuff. Anyway, the best I could figure out was like, I found this kind of rural in somewhere in like Nowheresville, but a little bit of hills, like more hills in Indiana, Ohio. It was like this cabin that was like a studio cabin on someone's property it was like $300 for 2 nights. And I thought, oh, we'll just do, like, that's what had got, it was like supposed to be a Florida resort and got down. And I booked it, and I was like, this is not going to be fun. Like, this is dumb. And it was April, so it's going to be cold and rainy. So I just booked it. I think I was just like angry, and I was like, I can't provide for my family. I can't travel. Like travel will never happen. I've dreamed of travel, and it's just like I'm not making any money. I don't know what to do. So I just kind of got on the internet more, and I kind of like found the whole credit card points thing, and I was like, yeah, it's probably a scam. Like Capital One, I've seen commercials for them, like football games. It's got Taylor Swift. It's like this is dumb. And then I started like reading a little bit more and kind of understood it. And so I was like, I'm just gonna get one of these Capital One cards. So I got the Capital One card and got the spending bonus. You spend $4,000 in 3 months, which isn't that hard for most families buying groceries. And then and then I got the like 75,000 point bonus. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And I saw there was a referral link. And so I like referred my brother and my brother-in-law just like that. And all of a sudden, I had well over 100,000 points. And I was like, whoa, that's a lot. So then I'm just doing my normal thing, which I've always done, which is just scour flight deals and stuff. And ended up finding $380 round trip flights to Rome. And so I just went in the Capital One travel portal and I booked those. So for my wife, myself, my daughter, who was free at the time, then we actually decided we had all these points that we felt like we were so rich now. We booked flights for my in-laws as well. They'd never been to Rome. So it's like I went from, in the span of like 3 months of knowing nothing about points, feeling like the best I could do was, this random cabin in Ohio, was we booked this trip to Italy. And then through my wife's Instagram, finding a connection, we ended up getting a free place to stay. So we had this like very much hacked trip to Italy that we spent very, very little money on. And it was just like amazing. And it kind of opened me up. Then I realized that was probably not a good use of my points. And now I find ways to get like 3 to 5x more value than that. But that was me starting off. So then I just kind of like, at this point, I'd gotten on LinkedIn and was kind of like really into LinkedIn. And I was like, I think, I started learning more. I started watching YouTube videos, podcasts, like newsletters. I got really obsessed with the whole points and miles thing, finding all these different things you could do. And then I just kind of randomly one day decided to post on LinkedIn about the points thing. And I think it was a post about flying, like how to get a really great deal flying to Hawaii. And it just like blew up. It was like the biggest LinkedIn post I ever had. And previously I was getting like 4 likes. And it was generic, like dumb stuff. Anyone who follows me, you can scroll way back and look at my stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, wow, people are thrilled about this stuff. And it was totally legit. It was a good deal. I think someone even booked that flight after they saw my post. And it was funny because I had this idea to like start a business. And I was like between, and so then I was like, I think I should try and do something with points. But I also had this idea I was going to like start teaching people piano on LinkedIn, which really looking back was a dumb idea. But I've been into music my whole life. And I had spent a lot of hours like filming piano videos. I was going to like start teaching people because I thought it was unique on LinkedIn. Anyway, I'm glad I didn't do that. So I just started sharing like very vaguely about points and giving people ideas. And I got on the phone with some people who like had questions because they started reaching out, and I answered questions on DMs. And then I was like, I bet I'm saving these people like a lot of money. I bet I could charge. So I charged, I think $40 for the first person to like talk to me on the phone. And they paid me, they Venmoed me. I was like, oh my gosh, $40 to talk on the phone about something I already know about that's free to Google. This is crazy. And then I was like, I wonder if I could do $75. And so I did that. And then like, yeah, I got some people. And it just kind of like went from there. Like that was the beginning is I basically just got really good at this stuff and learned it and found that I think I'm a pretty good teacher and that people, didn't understand it. And they were just like desperate to understand it. I got on the phone, they would be thrilled. They would tell their friends like, hey, this guy helped me figure it out. I didn't understand this stuff. Now I do. And so, yeah, it's just kind of gone from there as a simple consulting education business. And that was how long? That was probably October 2023 that I made that $75 sale, I think. So it's been a little bit of time now.
So when you first started digging into the points thing, was what you like the spring of 2023, or was it?
Yeah, so probably January 2023 is when I like first started digging into points. And and so I think it's funny, like something I don't, I'm cool telling people now that I didn't at the very beginning is like, I was pretty new to points as I was teaching people on LinkedIn to points. Now, at this point I've done 250 plus consultations. I've done like a bunch of trips myself, like my family and I booked with points. But more importantly, I've walked through the booking of like every trip you could imagine, first class to Dubai, luxury overwater bungalows in the Maldives, like South Africa, like Japan. I've kind of like trip plan the whole world now. And even though I haven't been to the whole world, like now I feel like I can comfortably say, because I have so much experience. But at the beginning, I was like, I haven't done much of this at all myself. And I kind of felt like a fraud. But I was like, but I'm not a fraud because I know this stuff and I know I can teach people. And so, yeah, that was the very beginning.
Well, I just wanted to point it out because, if you really focus on one thing for a short period of time, you become an expert on it, because most people, what is it saying? Like, if you read 10 books on one topic, you know substantially more than the average person in that world,
and
right?
that's exactly where I was. It's like, yeah, didn't know everything, but I knew more than the average Joe and like the person behind me. So that's all I needed.
Exactly. And then you just keep compounding from there. So, no, that's really, really good story. I guess, what was the point when you tell this story or continue it in terms of your other jobs, right? You were still working for other people. What the role did this play in like investing more heavily into it? And then when did you kind of go fully on your own, and why did you make that decision?
Yeah, so a couple of things there. I was working out of college for a insurance brokerage firm, just kind of a large corporate job, doing life insurance consultation stuff. Wasn't super exciting or fun. And I decided like I wanted a more meaningful job. And then I started the side hustle in October 2023. But before that, in July 2023, I decided I wanted a more meaningful job. So I ended up going to work for a large Catholic ministry called Damascus. Damascus is awesome. Love them. Like, would send my kids there. They're doing like one of the best ministries out there, I think, for like what they're doing. Amazing stuff. They run Catholic Youth Summer Camp. But like my job really didn't work out there. Like, wasn't the right fit for me. I was doing fundraising. But I was there. So like only July 2023 through December 2023. And so, yeah, I think in some frustration of like my job and kind of not enjoying like what I was doing, I think I was just in the wrong position there. Like I needed an outlet. So I started side hustling a little bit more. And that's when I had that first bit of success. And then, and I was like, I never thought of it as being a more full-time thing. So I was working there. And then I think a big break though, I had like a big breakthrough was going back to my dad. So in November then, so right after I kind of had first got some of these initial things, I kind of realized how big a deal, like my parents, like how much I could help them. So I found, and I think they're probably fine with me sharing this, like, they run a big business. There's a lot going on. They got 50 plus employees. They've got expenses. They're spending like $40,000 a month on credit cards because there's so many things to pay for. And I was like, wait, what? People spend that much money on credit cards? I just assumed it was like all checks or something. And I was like, couldn't believe it. So I spent hours and hours, and I like built them this whole strategy because they were doing terribly with points. They had a 1% cashback local bank card. Anyway, I ended up, doubling, tripling the amount of points they were earning. I taught them how to do stuff, and they've saved like, $20,000+ in travel since first quote unquote working with me. Now I'm their son, so I didn't, it's like working. They're not really a client, but they're it's family. And I was like that was a eureka moment of like, oh my gosh, there's people out there not just spending $3,000 a month like me, but like spending $50,000 a month, and maybe there's people spending even more than that. It's funny because I just talked to a guy who's spending $550,000 a month, and it's like, okay, I'm in the big leagues now on credit cards. And I realized like I can provide an unbelievable return for my parents, and there's so many people like them out there, so many small business owners. So yeah, that's where it like really took off of just like, hey, this could be something. Then I kind of had a frustration dip moment in January, February. Which I had started this new kind of job, and I don't want like too many details maybe, but I started this like very dumb real estate job that I thought would be a good idea, and it was commission only, and it was a whole mess, and I didn't make any money for like 3 months, and then I was pretty much let go. That was March 2024. So just about a year ago. It's crazy that was a year ago. And just, it was jobs were not going well, and I couldn't figure anything out job wise, but like the business and the LinkedIn were slowly moving, and like people were really liking me, and yeah, just kept going from there. So I'll pause there on the story, but yeah.
Hey everyone, quick ad break. If you are looking for support in your business, my executive assistant and I are actually trying out something. We're calling it the Paraclete VA. The premise is, in the Philippines, there are a lot of Catholic kind of virtual assistants and just talent that works for overseas companies here in America and other places. These companies are often kind of asking them to do things that are slightly contrary, or in some cases directly contrary to their beliefs as Catholics. But they have a dilemma, right? They need to have the money to be able to feed their families. So they're really not in any kind of position to just quit and go seek more employment. So they're kind of keeping an eye out for opportunities. Many of Karen's friends actually have asked if she knows any Catholic business owners they could apply to work for. So if you are a Catholic business owner, I assume you are listening to the show, and you're looking to hire some offshore talent, or you're open to hiring offshore talent, maybe you need a virtual assistant, maybe you're not familiar with hiring offshore talent, why not consider hiring a Catholic and changing a life and a whole family while you're doing it? So if you're interested, this is how we're testing it out. You can reach out to me or Karen. That's Silas at earthtechtalent.com, earth with no A, or Karen at earthtechtalent.com. Again, ERTH techtalent.com, with some of what you're looking for. And we'll look around, see if we can find anybody in our network, and we'll introduce you to a solid fit. When you do hire somebody, we charge you a flat $500. And then if you're still happy after 30 days, we charge you another flat $500. Keep in mind, we are not an agency that pays them directly. This is a direct contractor that you would hire them yourself and pay them as a contractor yourself. We can help you arrange that and best practices, but we are not an employer in between kind of managing the relationship. So if you are considering hiring some offshore talent, you need a virtual assistant, you need help with, marketing things. There's so many things that, Karen, for example, has been able to handle for me. She's effectively my chief of staff at this point. Consider doing it through Paraclete VA. Hire a Catholic and change a family's life today. All right, back to the show. No, I think that's really good. And then from there, I guess, just like quick fast forward. Like, when did you? So you left after you left that role with the real estate company. Then you did another job for a little bit, and then eventually in October, just decided, hey, like this is working. Like I got to my monthly expenses covered. Like going from there.
Yeah, so in March, so January through March 2024, I was in this kind of weird real estate job that I still look back and don't really understand how or what I got there or what it was. It was anyway. It's no more to say there. Didn't make any money. Thought I was going to be given a little bit more money. It didn't happen. And so I like quit that, but I was also kind of let go at the same time. And then I was just like, there's nothing going on. So this guy called me, who is a mentor who I would recommend any Catholic person who needs nonprofit consulting for fundraising. Kevin Fitzpatrick, One Visit Away is his company. Amazing guy. You should have him on the podcast, by the way. Love Kevin. I would, anyone makes fun of Kevin, I'll come fight you because he's just the man. He called me in early April 2024 as my travel business was doing okay. I think I'd made like $1,400 maybe that month. And I was like, oh, I'm rolling in it, And he's like, hey, bro, I saw your post that like you're looking for a job. Why don't you just do the travel thing full time? You seem like you're really good at that. And I was like, Kevin, that's crazy talk. There's no way like I could ever do that. And he's like, okay, well, I don't know. You seem like you're good at it, so you should just try it. And he's an entrepreneur, so I was like, I don't know, okay. But then he goes, by the way, I have a job for you if you want one. And so he was consulting for Sidewalk Advocates for Life, which is an awesome pro-life ministry. And he was working with their CEO, and he connected me, and I ended up getting a job there in fundraising, and that was great. Like that, so I started that in the middle of April 2024. But it was just bad timing for them because I really like them and I respect them and wanted to keep working for them and doing stuff because I just love their ministry. But like basically right when I started that job, the business started to just like whoosh, something happened. I don't know what it was, but started to really, really take off. And then, so like over the summer is when I had like, I think my first time, July, I made more money from this business than I did from the full-time job. And I was like floored. And I remember saying, I think maybe by April 2025, I could quit this job and go full-time. And then things got really good. And I think in September or October, I think I almost tripled my income. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening. And so I just called the CEO and I was like, listen, I can't even believe what's happening with my business, but I have to leave. Like, I love what you guys are doing, but I have this opportunity here for my family to like do something really special. And this business is taking off and I want to kind of ride the momentum while God's blessing the business. And so I left and that was October 24 to early November 2024. here I am. So yeah, that's kind of the story of how I got
No,
there.
I love it, man. I think I just want to encourage people to like really internalize this because this is a very good way. I mean, this is like the Alex Hermosi special. Like, use your side hustle to get your income to replace your income, and then you can go from there, right? And you did even more than that, right? You more than replaced your income from your job to then feel that comfort to leave, right? And I think this is a lot of people who have the hesitation to become entrepreneurs, especially Catholics. If you got a family, like you don't want to just do the stereotypical crazy person thing and be like, yeah, I'm quitting everything. I'm just gonna go send it on this wild thing, right? You can build something slowly over time, right? You got to put a little bit of extra hours in after you're done with your job, and you can build a replacement for your income.
Yeah.
So this is great. I really appreciate that story. What I want to ask you now is like, from I like I said, I discovered you probably around a year and some change ago. But like, what would you say are your biggest hurdles now? Like, as you're growing the business, you're in it full time. I'm assuming it's you and maybe some assistants. But like, what is the biggest hurdle for you going forward?
Yeah, I think it's funny because when I quit my job, I remember saying to my wife, "Oh, I'm just gonna have so much time. Like, it's just crazy. I have just like unlimited time to do whatever I want, and all these systems and these lead magnets and these things I'm gonna build. This is going. And yeah, it's time. I don't have anyone working for me in any kind of formal capacity. I've got some research assistants, like guys I'll just pay kind of one-off things to do some points and miles research for me when I have clients wanting help with trips. But yeah, I mean, it's all me. But when I get off this podcast, I feel like I'll probably have another 5 or 10 DMs and like 5 emails. Like, the amount of inbound interest leads I'm getting is really like crazy right now. Like, I cannot handle it. And it's because I think I've just hit on this topic that is just so appealing to people, and it's almost too appealing. Like, there's a marketing side that Capital One and Chase have done for me of this concept, of free travel, and it's not true. Like, we can talk more about that. Nothing's free, right? But it's just so compelling to people, I think, and then I think people like me and trust me that I'm just whoosh, whoosh, like so many leads. So yeah, it's hard to handle it. Like, by far the hardest thing for me now is not becoming like all consumed with the business. I've got a 9-week-old and a 3-year-old. It's really hard to not just be like obsessed thinking about this all the time. And then two, like, my offers right now are really unideal for a business owner. No one would ever in a million years buy my business. The reason is that everything I do is one-off. It's just a one-time fee. It's trip planning, one-on-one consultations, and then I have a business owner package I do, and it's all just a one-time fee, and there's no recurring revenue, and so I am constantly on the hunt for new clients. Like, I have to just be marketing, sale, do it again, like, it's just this cycle, and it's a super quick cycle. Which is, it's nice to make money quick. Like, I'll make a post, convince, sell someone on DMs in the span of 10 minutes and they'll pay. It's in my bank account just like that. As opposed to, someone who, that may not, they may make $40,000 in a deal, but they don't get the money for 8 months. And so I like the velocity of my business, but the structure is actually not ideal for scaling and for growth. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of things to figure out there of like, how am I going to adjust my offers to like give myself more stability in like this business? How am I going to find recurring revenue? How am I going to get out of this cycle of like just scraping for clients every single day? Because that's what I'm doing. I went on vacation 2 weeks ago and I didn't make any money because I didn't really work. And I was like, that is hard, because some people on recurring revenue, they take vacation and the money's still coming in. I was like, I kind of have to go after it every day and kind of get my daily bread, like literally speaking. And that's very challenging for me right now.
Mm-hmm. I do like it though, because with these kind of business, I'm in a similar boat, right? Like I have like somewhat recurring clients. I guess they might come back to me for recruitment services, but there is this kind of feast or famine situation where you have to wait for the manna every morning, right? Like you have to go out and work for it, obviously, but it forces you to have if you ever feel the anxiety, you're like, oh, I'm just giving in to this idea that God's not going to take care of me. And this is one thing I do love about entrepreneurship as a Catholic, is that it's like a forcing function to recognize that God will take care of me. He will, like, I got to be like the lilies of the field. I just got to like chill, right? Work hard, but not have anxiety about the future, because it's very, very easy to do so. So I appreciate you sharing that and those hurdles. It's really for me, perhaps my most enjoyable thing of life is just watching people go through this journey of like growing their businesses and seeing how they develop. Because like you and I were probably in the same boat. Like at one point you said, hey man, I can make $50 for my time. That was an amazing thing. And I was in a similar boat when I was younger. And now it's like, now how can I get to those next levels? And just watching this progression is really, really cool. So I want to ask you about something I think is really, really important is if I understand correctly, your wife is also doing some entrepreneurial things. So I'm kind of just curious how this dynamic works between the two of you, and if you have any thoughts or maybe advice for other people who have this type of situation or are considering doing this.
Yeah, like the specifically the spousal kind of dynamic working
Yeah, like
together.
how that be, you and your spouse are both entrepreneurs, and in this case, I think in different areas, right? You guys aren't necessarily working together on the business per se.
Yeah, it's funny actually. So going back to kind of my story, she like my wife has been blogging, writing in some capacity since she was like 11 years old. Like she was doing book reviews when she was like 11 on Blogspot, which is kind of cute. So I can't remember even when. I think 2020 she started getting more serious about her Instagram, and she like rebranded from Anne Marie, her name, to the Catholic Hype Woman. And so it's like everyone made fun of her. Like a lot of people said that's a dumb name. She had like 2,000 followers. Like you're trying to be an influencer. A lot of people gave her crap, and she's got very thick skin, so she just kind of ignored it. And yeah, she started just slowly building, slowly posting. Sometimes she'd go months without posting. Sometimes she'd post every day. And then about that time that I was frustrated in my corporate job and I hadn't started anything with LinkedIn yet, any side hustle, she started to get some like growth and some traction, and she started working at night. So like we'd, baby go to bed, and I had nothing to do, like literally nothing. I was training for my triathlon, and but I was done with that, and I just like wanted to chill and talk to her and hang out or whatever. And she starts working. I'm like, you're working like at night? Are you kidding me? Like we work during the day. Like, and I was really annoyed at her because she kept working, and she's like, but I'm building it, and I'm having so much fun, and like this is so fun to do. And I was like, oh. And anyway, I eventually got jealous of her, and I was like, I kind of want to be working on something like this. I bet I could do what you're doing. And that's like about when I started the side hustle. And so she's now she's got like, I don't know, almost 70,000 followers on Instagram under the label The Catholic Hype Woman. And yeah, she's talking specifically to the Catholic women about relationships, about motherhood, about like prayer life. She's got like releasing some guides, she's done some affiliate stuff. So yeah, she's made some pretty solid money, depending on what she's doing in a particular month, whether it's brand deals or affiliate stuff. And it's been amazing. Like, I think now, like, we're both very serious about like what we're doing. We both have pretty serious businesses. It's not just kind of like a fun side thing like it was back in 2023. And so, yeah, the dynamic is tough because like the non like glorious, glamorous side of what we're doing is like most nights we're just both working. Like it takes extreme effort and intentionality to not work. Like work is now the default. Which is funny because the first year of our marriage, there wasn't a single ounce of work done probably after 7 p.m. ever. Like a laptop was never opened. And it's funny because now it's like, yeah, that's, it's hard. So we're not working together, but we are doing like very similar stuff. Like, whether it's making a graphic or pitching a brand for a brand deal, like, or just kind of marketing strategy or like copy or like email automations or DM automations or like we're both building social media based businesses. And so we have a lot of fun together, I think, like working together and brainstorming ideas. But we're not doing the same business. So it's fun. And it's like really cool to be totally united together, building something and almost competing. Like it wasn't that long ago that I had the first month I made more than her. Like she was making much more than me on our respective businesses for well over a year. And I finally caught up to her. Now also she's a second time mom, of a 9-week-old, and she like barely works and still makes pretty good money. And I work like all the time. So her hourly rate is like probably 10x what mine is, even though I'm making more than her. So I remind her of that because I'm like, you like are such a present, good mom. And like you somehow make money. Like when I work like 10x what you do. And yeah, it's cool to see that. So I mean, I think working together is amazing because neither of us would ever be bitter at each other for working because we truly understand like what it is to be building something. If like only one of us was doing it, I'd be really worried that there'd be serious marital bitterness, like there was on my end. Like when she was building her thing and I had nothing, I was bitter at her because I was jealous of her and I was annoyed at myself that I didn't have something. And I'd like it was hard for me to kind of hype her up because I was like, I'm just jealous and annoyed because I want this for myself. So the fact that we're both together in it is huge. And so yeah, that's kind of maybe some advice or some thoughts, but it's been fun. And I think now that the thought is like, how do we tone it back? How do we like get our evenings back together a little bit? But it's, we're in a season right now, I think, of hard work, and that's okay.
That's a really profound story. I really appreciate this, man. I knew there was gonna be some gems in there, but that was definitely some good stuff. What has it been like, I guess, with kids in managing this? Because I think I'm a father of one, and I mean it's pretty crazy already. It's like I watch how much my wife has to work and taking care of the babies. Like how do you guys manage that process? Like is the work at night mainly because they're sleeping? Like how do you manage having kids and doing the business?
Yeah, well, for the first kid, so like I feel like so for me, it's always been like we're kind of living in a more traditional family mindset where it's like she's with the kids most of the day and I'm working. Like, and it's only been 4 months that I've actually even had the flexibility to like go be with them at 11 a.m. because I've only been on full time doing this since October. But the joke, like when we just had one kid, so our most recent was just born in December. So is that like we definitely like embrace kind of attachment parenting and like sleep support. So like my wife would sometimes stay with her, like, and she really struggled with sleep sometimes for like 2.5 hours to get to bed. Like that was not an uncommon thing. It's funny because our new baby doesn't need nearly as much time. But we joke like her whole business was built, nursing in a dark room because she would just have her phone and she'd be like supporting the baby to sleep for 2 hours. And baby wasn't crying. She just was kind of like needed some help to get down to sleep. And so my wife would be on Instagram and she would be writing posts and she would be engaging with people and she'd be making Canva graphics on her phone for like stuff. And she'd be emailing with brands. And so like, yeah, I mean, she kind of built the business on her phone while nursing a baby for 2 years. And like, it was cool to see that. And now it's like really hard, I think, for her because, the demands of two kids are literally double, right? What are one. And so, yeah, that evening time is really important to work. And I think too, one thing we're going after is like, how can I maybe take an hour, with the kids, for her to have some time to do something. But what I really love about her is like, the kids are first. Like she doesn't even, I keep offering that, for example, of like, let me stay with them, you do work. And she says no to that. Not because she doesn't trust me, but because she like wants to be 100% present. And any moment that like work or the business gets in the way of her, number one vocation and purpose as a mother, it's like she just doesn't tolerate it. And so like I don't know how she keeps it straight in her head because if I can be honest, I will choose the work over being with the kids. Like I'll just be completely vulnerable, and I think most founders would actually agree, even though they wouldn't maybe say it. And I don't want that to be true, but it is at times, and I'm okay with that. And like I know I need to work to a place where I truly desire like intimacy and time with kids over building. But the insane level of dopamine of building a business is unlike anything else, where you don't get that from an 8-week-old, right? And that's like a thing I really want to grow in is like desire to just like truly be with them and be completely present without thinking, oh, new idea, new offer, all this stuff. But yeah, my wife is really amazing there, and the time just seems to expand to the level that she needs, and we've got some great family help as well, which has been good. But yeah, it just kind of works. I don't know how it works, but maybe you have to have her on.
Yeah, maybe. I think we might have to.
Yeah.
I definitely think this is the very interesting point is that there's so much in the 21st century. People really, really like to plan, and they say, oh, like we can't afford to have another kid, or we could never do that because we just don't have time. But it's like, I I do a lot of things, like quite honestly. But after we had our first baby, and there's like much less time to do stuff because I'm helping or Lynn needs a break or whatever. But I still get the stuff done, right? You just find ways to make it happen, and I still get roughly the same amount of sleep, right? And it's just you become more intense with it. And I just this idea of trying to plan and predict everything and have some kind of specific system to me is a little bit of a folly, right? That we fall into. And I just wish people would be a little bit more open to just trusting, like putting it in God's hands and saying, listen, I'm going to try my best, and not every day is going to be great, but I'm going to do my best, and I know that you're going to take care of me, God. Right? You're going to provide, maybe extra support. Maybe your sibling's going to come over and help take care of the baby a day or whatever. Like, there's always these things that we could try to plan for, but there's no way we could possibly know. So just put it in God's hands, anyways.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but
Amen. Yeah, it's so necessary. Like it just you can't fit the kids or the family or the business into like this nice little system. It just doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't
exactly.
work.
There's always going to be some messiness, right? Physically and emotionally, probably too. But
Yeah.
after let's call it a year of like really really deep, a year and a half of really diving into this. Like you've achieved a lot of success with the business, and I'm sure you're going to achieve more. What would you say are your core reflections from as a Catholic entrepreneur in this past year and a half? Like, what are the core things that you try to hold on into your heart? Say, thank you, God, for teaching me this.
Yeah, I think like something I've reflected on a lot and shared in posts is just provision. Is this like even going back to that Airbnb for $300 in rural Ohio, it's like I thought that that's all I would like have ever have. And even going back to like the youth minister thing in high school, like I thought I would only ever make $45,000 a year, and I just like it just was not possible to do more than that. And now like my mind has been completely illuminated to see like no, like God does provide, and He like wants my full flourishing. And that's full flourishing does not mean making money or wealth per se for everyone, but it's like I think that I have been called and I've been gifted to like build something, whether it's this thing or maybe this dies and I do something else, like, and I can make a huge impact on my family, on my friends, on my community. Yeah, like there's just it's just massive, like God's provision and reminding of that, like. When I quit my job, I actually had one of the reasons I quit is because I accepted this like 15 hours a week freelance job. Okay, I didn't mention that, and that was like my safety net because I didn't believe that I would actually like make enough money, even though I had already proven that I could. I just didn't believe, and like that's probably a trust issue. And I just like I was kind of feeling like the pressure of like doing that. It was just too much, that 15 hours a week stuff, because I had so much going on. And I remember like I decided, I was like, okay, God, like you've provided so much, like I'm going to just trust you and go full on the business. So I quit the job, whatever, like 9 a.m. on a Tuesday or whatever it was. I can't remember. And I'm not kidding you. Within like at 9:01, okay, 9:01. And by the way, I was making probably like, let's say I was making like $600 a month doing that. Like it wasn't that much. But I felt like that's what I needed, like that extra gap. So I quit the job. Let's say it's 9 a.m. I can't remember what time it was. Literally 1 minute later, I got a cold DM. Hi, Colin. My name's XY. I spend $100,000 a month on a credit card, and I feel like I'm not getting any value from my points. Do you think you could help me? Okay, literally just came in like that. And I was like, yes, I could. I would love to help you. And my business owner offer is $600, like the same amount of money that I was making from that 15-hour a week job. And I called him. I was like, hey, do you have like, he goes, I'd love to schedule a call. I was like, do you have time right now to just like chat? And so we talked on the phone, and I like closed him, and I told him my offer, and he's like, that sounds great. It's exactly what I need. And boom, Stripe came in, $600, like just like that. So it's like, I was like, just, that's an amazing story to me. Cause it's like, I just like felt like I needed to kind of go out on a limb and trust God that the business would work. And I wasn't at the time getting many of those like larger, higher ticket for me. That's a higher ticket is $600. I wasn't getting many of those, and this guy, yeah, he did it, and it was like, whoa! Within minutes of quitting the safety net job, like all that money was literally made back, right? That like 15 hours of work that I just got closed in 5 minutes on the phone. It was like, wow. And it's like that's I feel like been one of the main reflections is like God is a provider. He's not going to hang me out to dry. He's not going to. I don't have to strive to like please Him to get what I need. Yeah, and there's been so many other reflections personally too, like even just like coming into my own identity. It's like I am capable of things. Like I am actually like I am smart. I feel like God does want to say to me those things that He wants to say to everyone. You are my beloved son. You are smart. You are intelligent. You are capable. And it's like, yeah, I know that. And it's like, yeah, charismatic Catholics like want me to say that out loud. And it's like I actually agree with that, but it's always felt like kind of cheesy to me. And it's like, well, like the business has been this funny vehicle. Something is shallow. Honestly, I'm not saying my business is super deep. It's kind of shallow, credit card points. I'm not building hollow, you know what I mean? But like it's been it's been like this amazing vehicle for like God to impart identity to me of like who I am. Because I had so much self-doubt, so much anxiety, so much like I literally will not amount to anything. I'm going to be a youth minister making 42,000. And there's nothing wrong with being a youth minister, but like it wasn't that it was because I didn't think I could do anything else. Like that's why I thought I'd be a youth minister. I couldn't like be my dad or do something bigger or do. And so like it's been so cool how the business success has been like God spoken to me through that of like these words of identity. I think trying not to find identity in my business. I'm trying to make a distinction here. Those are two. That's an issue I know with business owners, but it's been amazing. I could probably talk for hours about that, but
This is very thoughtful. I appreciate it. I'm just going to point out two things that stand out to me from what you said there. One is that there's, in the same way that there's levels of reward in heaven for those who commit to God, I think it's the same thing with our relationship with him on earth, right? It's like it's completely reflected. If you go deeper into trusting him and you put, you don't hold back, right? You completely submit. The more you submit, the more he's going to bless you, and not in like this prosperity gospel way, but like he will deepen that relationship with you. You're going to still have suffering, right? But you accept the suffering because you know that whatever he provides, whether it seems good or bad on the surface, it's good for you because he would never give you something that's not good for you. So that's like that depth, right? Becoming an entrepreneur can be a way to deepen your relationship with God. I would say it's probably one of the best ways. I'm maybe biased, but that's one thing.
Yeah.
And then the other thing,
you have to trust, like otherwise you'll go crazy. You'll go nuts.
Exactly.
So,
Otherwise, it's like just super anxiety inducing, right? And then the second piece there is that you brought up the identity thing. This is something I've never heard anybody verbalize so well. So I really appreciate you sharing this. But just to me, I've always had this belief, or I've had this belief, I should say, been developing it over the past couple of years here, is that God does not give us skills for our own use. He gives us skills for his use in the world. And through trusting or honing those skills, if you will, we can understand our identity that God has kind of like specifically imprinted on us. And what better way to do that through entrepreneurship? Again, I'm not saying everybody has to be an entrepreneur, okay? But I'd love to see more entrepreneurs in general. So I really, really appreciate you sharing that. I'm gonna have to definitely clip that up. That's gonna be good. Let's start to wrap things up here. So now that you've just talked about this, right? Understanding that you can achieve things and you have a bigger belief in yourself. How do you now? I'm assuming your ambitions have raised substantially compared to like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago when you started this. How do you reconcile ambition, and especially because it's usually tied to like income generation, etc. How do you reconcile that with your faith, and what is your relationship with ambition?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds odd. Like I still don't even call myself like a hyper ambitious person. Like you do listen to Alex Hormozy, and it's like that is ambition incarnate. You know what I mean? Of just like, how do I get to 8? I'm at 7 figures a month. How do I get to 8 figures? How do I get to 9 figures a month? It's like, that is really not how I think. So I don't think like those two are in the way. I think like it's kind of just like I am really after more of a lifestyle type business. Like I want to make good money and I want to have an impact, but I do like want my life, with my children and travel, I go places and things. So I really don't think that like my business or ambition is getting in the way of my faith. And I feel like they're working together. Like right now, the business has probably been one of the best things for me personally in growing in my faith, like for the stuff we're talking about, whether it's identity or trust or just kind of like radical dependence, on my daily bread. So yeah, I mean, it's going well. I think one thing that is always hard is like, okay, well, I wake up with a burning desire to like start doing stuff. And it's like, okay, at what point, like, how do I get to a point where I wake up with like a burning desire to pray? Because it's like I probably had a larger desire to pray before the business, because the business is so much dopamine. It's so exciting. And so that's one thing I worry is like that I continue to slip into more of a spirit of self-reliance all the time, and self-obsession, and even like pride of just like, hey, I'm the man. I'm doing well right now. I don't need God because I just like I already hit my target for the month, so I don't need to pray anymore. Like that's an easy thing to slip into. It sounds bad, but I'll just be honest. That's how I feel sometimes. And so, yeah, I think I have to continue that total spirit of like, radical dependence, and not let my pride or any level of success kind of get in the way of that. So it's something I'm definitely navigating and trying to figure out. And having like, whether it's morning prayer, or like having the two little kids I'm really still figuring out like what it looks like to be a dad of two and at home all day, and trying to work, but also like trying to stay healthy and pray. So it's a lot to figure out, but it's good. It's a good journey to be on.
No, I appreciate that. So it sounds like, if anything, it may not be necessarily, you may not have as much natural inclination to, let's call it, your faith or prayer, etc. sometimes, because you're so like you're enjoying the business part so much. But if you place those prayer blocks or those, time for reflection, or you structure your week in a way and your day in a way that you are forced to recognize, like, hey, listen, as great as I am, I'm really not great, right? I really have like this, I'm completely dependent. All the skills I have,
Yeah.
everything comes from God. And then that keeps you grounded. I'm assuming there's like discussions with your wife as well that can help each other come back to a grounded situation. Is that accurate?
Yeah, for sure. No question.
Cool. Okay, two last things. So I do want to ask you briefly about, how do you, as a Catholic entrepreneur, do you ever find it challenging to find others like you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that's definitely hard for my wife and I, like right now. I don't think it feels like people don't understand us sometimes of like what we're doing, or it's like you might have some people who put us on a pedestal. That's not fair. Like, and then some people who think we don't do anything because we're just like at home all day. We're not going to work or something, or we're just like playing around on the internet. So there's kind of a spectrum there. My wife's brother is building a company called The Running Effect. Really cool. He's like huge on Instagram, got a huge podcast. It's really fun that she's got another brother who's a Christian musician, Seth Schleter, who's pretty like growing, getting up and coming now, like doing really well. So it's kind of cool to like have family members who are also like doing the whole building an online business thing. Like that makes me feel like I'm a normal person. Like I can text my brother-in-law and be like, we can talk about brand deals or something. But I don't know anyone. I don't know many other people to talk to. Like in my personal, like real life IRL circle, there is no one I know other than my brothers-in-law doing anything like I'm doing. And so it is a little bit isolating because I don't think people understand, where it's like lots of people who are, year 3 or 4 of a corporate job and they're getting promoted and they're making a better commission now and all this. It's great. Like, cool. Awesome, man. Like, but it's like what I'm doing is odd. So that's why I'm thankful for LinkedIn, because I have like connected with so many people who are doing exactly what I'm doing. And while they may not share my faith, they may live in California. They may I'll probably never meet some of them. Like it feels just so good to have someone to talk to, and just like who gets what I'm doing. And then on the flip side, like there's people who are running brick and mortar businesses who might be in their 50s or 60s, like my dad and his friends. I struggle maybe I don't know all those people, but like I'd love to kind of connect with them more, because these are like battle tested, awesome people who have built very real things, and usually over 20 plus years. I'd love to connect with more of those people. I just really haven't, but I'm doing my best to like try and find people who are in my season, in my state, especially young fathers who who are kind of doing this and feel a little isolated. So, because it's easy for me to feel isolated. So anyone listening to this in that category, hey, you want to reach out? I'd love to chat, because I don't have that many people to chat with who are kind of in my space. And so it can be isolating, but that's what's like, I really coming back to it. My wife doing this stuff feels like we're just locked in together. Like we both get each other. So I don't have to like explain anything to her. She gets it all. She doesn't have to explain anything to me.
Yeah.
That feels just really good.
That's a blessing. I do appreciate the for me, it's like I'm all about community. I've had lots of really, really good people in my life, and we have different communities that are kind of share certain things. But oftentimes I've really struggled to find, especially the in-person community of entrepreneurs who are Catholic.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be, online only. You can be brick and mortar, whatever. But like finding those group of people who are also like have some of my other beliefs around like how you would educate your children, et cetera.
Yeah.
Like finding the intersection of these things is very difficult. And I think I'm going to end up having to just convince all my friends to move wherever I live so we can have a group of us at some point. But I think
Yeah.
this is really good, man. This has been an amazing episode. I really appreciate you coming on. Let's end with giving people like maybe slightly where people can reach you, why they should reach out to you, and maybe like one core tip about travel points.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so Go Somewhere is the name of my company. Go Somewhere, 2 words. GoSomewhere.world is my website. Colin at GoSomewhere.world is my email. So reach out there. LinkedIn, Colin Stroud is where I'm posting a lot. I've got a newsletter. Free resource. I've got a mini course that I think is pretty solid that anyone can download off my LinkedIn or website and just kind of like dip your toes in the travel thing. Really what I'm doing, I'm really helping two people that are high spenders at this point, whether you're a business owner or you just spend a lot of money. You're leaving a ton of value on the table with credit cards, and I love to talk to you. The other people are people that, for whatever reason, whether you're a high spender, you travel a lot or something, you're sitting on a mountain of points, and we'll define a mountain as 300,000 points or more across whether any bank, hotel, airline. You're just sitting on these, and you're like, hey, I feel like I don't know what to do with them, or I've used them before and I don't get like a lot of value. Reach out. I do trip planning services. So you've said, hey, I want to take the family to Hawaii. I've got 500,000 Amex points. I don't know what to do with them. Can you just like figure it out for me? And I do that. So I'll do all the research. We'll get on a quick call and I'll just walk you through the booking process. So you don't have to think, you don't have to like figure out the stuff. But if you do like really want to learn about this stuff, how the whole travel world, points and miles world works at a deep level, I do offer one-on-one consultations like this to kind of teach you. And those come with my free online, not my free, those come included with my online course. It's like a 2-hour course kind of going through the fundamentals. And I think that if I could leave anyone like that are brand new people to points and miles, is like the cool tip is this, is like your points have a fixed value inside your bank travel portal. So we look at bank points, Capital One, Chase, Citi, Wells Fargo, any of those, Amex. They usually have a fixed value of about 1 penny per point. But there's ways to get more value than that. You can get 2, 3, 4, 5. I've just had a redemption where I got 8 pennies per point, 8 cents per point. So I literally 8x the value of my points. And where that matters is that if you have 100,000 points and you redeem them at 1 cent per point, that's $1,000 of travel. But there are ways to redeem them at 8 cents per point, which is a little over the top, I'll admit, but it can be done. And that's now $8,000 of travel. So that's why I charge money for this. And that's why I think this business is good, because like there are ways to do that and I can show you it and I can give you $7,000 of value just like that, and help you get a cool trip to wherever, Europe, Asia, fill in the blank. And you can pay me a very negligible amount for that service. $350 is what I charge for that trip planning to maybe give you an additional couple $1,000s of value. And I'll say for anyone, like one of my favorite, the simplest redemption ever, if you're brand new to transferring points, Chase credit cards are the most popular consumer travel credit card in America. It's just the stats show that. Chase is the only bank that transfers to World of Hyatt. You guys want to get on, if you have Chase points, get on World of Hyatt's website right now and start playing around. And you'll see that like, you'll be shocked. You'll be like, a beachfront hotel in Hawaii for like 25,000 points a night. Like that isn't that like $250 worth of points? And yes, the answer is yes. You can get a luxury like $800 a night hotel in Hawaii and Florida and California for like 15 to 30,000 points per night with that program. A lot of you are sitting on a lot of Chase points and you're missing out there. So if you just want to do the simplest redemption ever, transfer Chase points to Hyatt, get a luxury hotel stay, go enjoy it, and email me if you need a few more need help filling in those gaps there if you're brand new to this. But a million things you could do. That's a simple, easy one. So there's your fun, free, simple tip.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Colin. I also will say that I've had the consultation with Colin and it's highly worth it. So definitely reach out to him today, guys. And thanks so much for coming on, man. This has been really a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to seeing how you grow in the coming years.
Thanks so much, Silas. Appreciate you, man.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for tuning in today. Please do us a huge favor by sharing this on social media or directly with people that you think would really enjoy this episode specifically. If you do like the work we do, please do consider becoming a paid subscriber. It's $10 a month or $100 a year. You'll get access to all paid content, and you can join our peer group of other Catholic founders. All you have to do is go to catholicfounders.com/subscribe and pick the tier that you prefer. All right, see you next time.